Hi, my name's William, but most people just call me Billy. When I was a little boy, I got into a fight with some neighborhood kids. I got so mad, I started throwing a tantrum and shouting at them. I bragged about being rich and how I will someday ruin them. But my mom walked out after hearing the commotion and immediately began to scold me. "That's not how we treat other people, William. I raised you better than this. You were born with luck on your side, but you should never use your privilege to belittle others. Now apologize to them." I bowed my head and realized my mom was right. I was being a spoiled brat just because those kids didn't let me in on their secret club. I was trying to hide the fact that I was crying from my mom scolding me, but I stretched my hand out for Ben to shake and he took it. "I'm sorry. I was mean and I was just jealous." Ben smiled at me as if nothing happened, and what he said next shocked me even more. "Come on, I'll show you the treehouse Dad built for us. We're gonna hold a ceremony to welcome you into the club." From that moment on, Ben, Matt, and Rob became my best friends, and from then on, I've never been one to show off again. My mom taught me how to be humble. As we grew up, we all got jobs at my dad's company, but that was when our friendships began to fray. Dad loved Rob. He always bragged about him to his friends. I even overheard him tell his business associates that he was the son he wished he had. At first, I let it go. Rob liked the same things as Dad, and they went to basketball games together, and they loved expensive cars. Meanwhile, I was the numbers nerd, and there was nothing that I loved more than fiscal responsibility. But then, Rob started using his closeness with my dad to his advantage. It was because Dad was so fond of him that he got promoted first. I deserved it, and so did Ben and Matt. Rob wasn't even at work half the time. Rob let the power get to his head. He would bark orders at us and treated us like his assistants. "Yo, Ben, fetch my dry cleaning. Matt, have my car washed. And Billy, buy me a cappuccino. Don't forget my black card." He handed his brand new corporate account card to me and showed it off as if it was his money. I was venting about that to my fiancée when I realized she wasn't even listening. She was too busy texting, so I got curious and peeked into her DMs. And my stomach churned when I saw who she'd been messaging. It was Rob, and neither of them had any idea that we were mutuals. My girl didn't know about my family or who I really was. Like I said, I never show off. I wear simple jeans and shirts. She always nags me about getting a high-paying job because she thinks I'm earning minimum wage. What she doesn't know is that I have millions in my bank account. Technically, I don't need to work, but I don't want to be that kind of guy. "Hey, want to go to a party tonight? It's a black tie event, work thing, fancy schmancy, just like you like it. I'll even buy you a dress." "Ha, a fancy gala? Knowing you, it's probably some basic, low-budget thing at a 2-star hotel. Can your company even afford to host events? Can you even afford a dress? I'm not wearing something you can buy at the mall, Billy. Come on, it'll be nice. I can finally introduce you to my boys." "No thanks, I have plans. Going out with my friends, the ones who have boyfriends who can actually afford BMWs. "Yeah, and the latest iPhones bought with money they don't have." Just shut up and get a raise already. I'm heading out." That night, I wore my best suit and tie, but as I entered the venue, I saw Rob laughing with my dad as he introduced his date to him. It was Lizzie. They must have heard me gasp in surprise, so they turned to my direction. I swiftly jumped into the bushes. I don't know why I did that. I wasn't the one cheating. I just panicked. I stayed in the shadows the whole evening. I spied on them and found out that Rob had been lying to Lizzie, telling her that he had tons of money. But the biggest betrayal of all came from my dad. "I would like to announce that I have named my successor." I stood up from my seat and ready to go on stage. "Give a round of applause for my protege, Robert Williamson." I was so infuriated that I stormed out before the party ended. And it was lucky that I did too, because as I made my way to the parking lot, I overheard a conversation Rob was having on the phone. "I'll get the money to you, I promise. I just got a huge promotion." I found out Rob's ultimate plan. Rob was swimming in debt, and he intended to take over the company so he could pay back the shady characters he borrowed from. He was using both my dad and I. When Monday came around, Rob walked into the office feeling like the king of the world. He came to my cubicle, and when he saw that I hadn't gotten him his usual coffee, he got annoyed. "Is this how you treat this company's heir?" When I didn't respond, he swatted my hand and the box of things I was gathering scattered all over the floor. I sighed and picked them up one by one. "Come into my office. We have something to talk about." Rob looked like I just spoke gibberish to him. "What office?" I walked to the corner of the building and Rob followed me, confused. But when he saw my name on the door of his old corner office, he lost it. "What in the actual heck is going on here?" "Have a seat." "You better explain what's happening right now. I said sit down!" Rob had never heard me yell before. Nobody had. Everyone there stopped what they were doing and watched as I tore my old friend down from his pedestal. What he didn't know was that after I heard his phone call on the night of the party, I made my dad listen to the recording. He sent a memo to the board members and immediately revoked his proclamation to make Rob his heir. "I don't appreciate you talking to me that way, Rob. Maybe it's time for a bit of humble pie. Go fetch my car and have it washed. After that, buy me the most expensive suit you can find. Here's the cash." "Excuse me?" "Haven't you heard? You've been demoted. You're now my intern, effective immediately." After Rob did all my errands for the day, I sacked him. I had no intention in keeping around a snake that would sooner take revenge on me. It was good to be on top. I used to think my dad would abandon me for my friend, but regaining his trust and confidence felt good, and being the next CEO came with benefits. I appeared in magazines, I got a black card that had no limit, and the company car they gave me was the most expensive thing I've ever driven. A few days later, I met up with a date at a nearby park, and to my surprise, I spied my ex and Rob sitting on a park bench by a food truck. I overheard them arguing. "But I want ice cream and waffles. Just waffles is too dry and just ice cream is too cold." "I'm sorry, babe, but my salary hasn't come in yet. I can only afford one or the other. How about I get the waffles and you get the ice cream and we can share, huh?" "You're so stingy. And here I thought you were gonna be my sugar daddy." The guy rubbed his head in embarrassment. Lizzie had such a loud voice that everyone at the park heard everything. I was shocked to hear Rob pretending that he hadn't just lost his job. I wanted to stay a bit longer. I wanted to see a reaction when he finally came clean about being broke. And as I was too distracted with the eavesdropping, I hadn't noticed that both of them had spotted me. I saw Lizzie's eyes sparkle with envy when she saw my convertible. "Look at that guy. He's so hot in that elegant suit. And wow, that car must have cost him hundreds of thousands. You know, I thought you'd be more like that guy. Instead, I'm here eating cheap ice cream at a park." Rob barely glanced in my direction. He has money, but does he even look as good as me?" I pretended not to hear. I took off my sunglasses, and several girls stopped and stared at me with their mouths open. One of them even asked if she could take my photo. Lizzie stood up and pointed at me. "Wait! That's my ex!" From the corner of my eye, I saw Rob go from clueless to realization in a span of 5 seconds. "What? But that's my boss!" I pretended not to notice them, and my date and I hopped into the convertible as soon as Lizzie started running towards me. I put the car into gear and we drove past my ex-friend and ex-girlfriend. We were only cruising at 40, so I clearly heard her huffing and puffing as she ran after the car. Just to rub it in her face, I turned to my date and told her a joke. She laughed and I leaned in. I stole a peep to make sure Lizzie could see us. And then I kissed my date. And while Lizzie stood there shocked at her utter defeat, I sped away into the sunset with a supermodel.